morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is the Monday after Thanksgiving. And our Thanksgiving was very interesting. My grandmother, who is my best friend, biggest supporter, period. Very strong woman, beautiful woman. At 88 years old, she transitioned into heaven. It was tough. It was really tough. I'm not gonna lie to you. And I'm making this video because the transition process, notice how I say not death. I'm a Christian. I believe in God. I believe in Jesus Christ. And there's actually a wonderful little vision that God gave me. And if you stay into the end of the video, you'll hear about that vision that God gave me, which is awesome. But one thing that you learn about the transition that your family, your loved ones make, doesn't have to just be your family, but your loved ones make, is that it teaches you a lot about your life here on earth and how you're living it. Do not live your life with regrets. Do not live your relationships with regrets. If you're in a bad relationship and there is no saving it, get out. If you are in a dead-end job, you're just there for a paycheck, you should definitely be using the hours after work to create something. Start a business. Put your resume out there. If you drive a vehicle that you've been driving forever and you've always said, man, I would really love this car, blah, 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 you need to start working towards it. If you are out of shape, you're an unhealthy person, or you've been heavy for all of your life, and we know that it's not a healthy way to live this life, you need to start working towards getting leaner, right? Now, when it comes to my grandmother, her decline began to happen based off of her weight. That's why I'm very passionate about weight loss in general, but fat loss more. Because if she wasn't overweight in her lifetime, she would have been able to be here to this day, really. She was a fighter. The doctors said that everything was working the best it could with the pacemaker that they had to put inside. Because when you gain weight and you creep up in age, which we all are, we're not reversing anything here. It may feel like it if you're in really good health, and my clients tell me that all the time, that they feel like they're reversing their life in terms of their health in the best possible way, because it really does feel like you're aging in reverse when you're doing this right. But the fact of the matter is we're all getting older. And as you get older, if weight is an issue, what happens to you is that one injury is literally times 2 or times 3, sometimes times 5 what it really is. Meaning, if you fall and you hurt your shoulder when you're older, that could put you in the assisted living care unit, where you're no longer able to take care of yourself. You're no longer able to wipe yourself after you go to the bathroom. These are things that my grandmother had to endure. It wasn't a life at all, really. And it all happened from one accident. Now, it's because she was overweight. Because the less weight, when you fall, the less mass hits the ground. So therefore, you can recover. Also, when you are healthy, your joints and your bones are healthier, okay? And we don't just lose that health of our joints and our bones. That is something that we do via our diet, our daily diet, what we put inside of our body. It's the same thing when it comes to heart failure, kidney failure, all of the different kinds of osis, like the osteoporosis, all of those different things. Gut health, when it comes to how your gut is operating. It all starts from nutrition. So I'm making this video because you need to think about where you are right now. If you're not really happy with your life right now, you need to make some changes. You need to make the necessary changes. Stop saying to yourself that you can't afford something, because we can all afford everything. We are very, very resourceful beings. If we want it, we'll go after it. I know this to be true. Seen it with clients, people who work with me who had to make some financial sacrifices, whatever. I've had to make several financial sacrifices in my life in order to get to where I am, and also where I am going. It requires financial sacrifice. So don't let finances be your thing. That's a limiting belief. And also, do not let time be your thing, because time is not your friend. You need to start thinking in the now. I'll get to it. It can happen later. Right now, this is my priority, blah, blah, blah. All of those things, they are literally there to keep you away from your goals. They are literally there to deter you from the path that would actually have you at a place where you are so extremely happy, where you have so much abundance of health and wealth and happiness, but we sabotage it. That's what we do as human beings. Take my grandmother, for instance. If she was healthy, in good shape, she wouldn't have needed the pacemaker. She wouldn't have. When she fell, she would have been able to recover, so she would have still been in her apartment. All of that would have been cool. She would have probably, I'm going to make a huge guess because I am not God, but based off of health, she could have lived to 100 years old, because nothing else was wrong except for the things that happened when she started to decline and gain all of that weight. Now, it was a slow process, like it will be for many people watching this video, but the process itself, it didn't come as a shock. It didn't come as a surprise. When it came down to the very, very end of her life, it was more so based off of all of the stress she was putting on all of her organs, based off of all of this weight. So what happened? Well, in her last months here on this earth, she was eating less and less and less and losing a lot of weight, and she was left with a lot of extra skin. And that extra skin obviously was not easy to deal with. Also, because of her age and because of her weight, she wasn't able to get certain surgeries, which really sucked. So these are decisions, unfortunately, that she didn't have any control over. Getting surgeries, things of that nature. So your health, man, and these other items that I've talked about today is paramount. You cannot put a price on it. If you need to invest in it, you need to do it. You can try to do it by yourself, but we all know that there is a proven path. We all know that there's an easier way to do everything. It just requires you getting a professional who that's all they do. Literally, they eat, sleep, and breathe it. You can do it on your own. It's just going to take you a long time. Just like it took the whatever fitness professional you're watching on social media, took them a long time. Lots of trial and error after receiving the certification or after receiving the degree, because a piece of paper does not qualify you. Some individuals, they think that they are top tier. As soon as they receive that paper, can be further from the truth. You need experience. You need to deal with other human beings other than yourself. And before that, you need to have mastered it for yourself, and you need to live the lifestyle so you can teach it properly. because there's a lot of ups and downs in the process, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. It all happens at once sometimes. Feels like the world is against you because you're stepping out to do something for yourself that is not natural and normal to what your life has been. So these are just things to keep in mind. If you're on that proper path because you're in the Hyler Project right now, I salute you. But if you're one who is not on that path yet, doesn't matter if it's with me or not, Hyler Project is awesome, and I'll definitely get you there, and we have the best support system in the world and the best tools to get there in the world, because this is all a proven path that I've learned over time. But if it's someone else, that's okay. The key is that you invest in yourself. And unfortunately, this industry, it's kind of difficult to find health and wellness professional that, one, cares for you, two, has the time for you, and three, I'm going to say, has the proper tools to get you there. And they don't just send you a bunch of like spreadsheets and crap like that you can't understand, or put you on diets that you hate, create this criminal mindset where you are a slave to a diet because you've done something wrong, so I guess you need to be in prison. But the whole point of this is that transition, some of you call it death, I call it new life. It teaches us where we're at. So, for you who have waited to the very end of the video, what vision did God show me? Well, when I was with my grandmother at the very end, I did what Jesus did on the cross. What did he do? Well, he said, Father, I commit my spirit to you. And then literally, spirit left his body completely, detached from it. And the veil was torn in two. You read the story in the Bible. It's an amazing story. And when that veil was torn, it meant that our connection between us and Jesus was now just prayer. It wasn't any more difficult than that we could talk with him whenever we want, and that he receives our prayers for those whom he loves, and those are all of his children. Which, if you believe he lived, died, and rose, and you live a sacrificial lifestyle, and you live a lifestyle full of repentance when you do wrong knowingly, based off of what God has presented to you, because you're an imperfect being, so you're going to repent a whole lot in your life, and yes, you'll be forgiven every single time. You are one of his children. So when I touched my grandmother, I touched her on her heart, and it was at the point where, her breaths had gone from 5 seconds apart to 6 to 7 to 8 to 9 to 10, and then eventually she wasn't breathing anymore. And it was such a soft and slow it was such a soft and kind of gentle transition that you could barely tell when her spirit had left her body, which is so beautiful, because all I wanted for her was for her to be at peace. I wanted her to not feel any pain. That's what I wanted for my best friend. And that's exactly what happened. God is so good like that. But when I placed my hand on her body, I said, Lord, I commit my grandmother's spirit to you. Immediately, I saw a vision in heaven. I was literally caught up into the spirit, and I saw a vision in heaven of her dancing in a dress that was silver and sparkly and beautiful. And she kept repeating to me, grandson, can you see my new body? Grandson, I'm in perfect health. Grandson, I'm so happy. Don't cry. There's nothing to be sad about. I'm happy here. She was just in so much peace and so much happiness, it was almost overwhelming. So of course I began to cry tears of joy. It's a beautiful thing. And at the end of that vision, she kept telling me to tell the family that she was okay, and that they need to celebrate what has happened because she's no longer in pain, and number one, to believe in Jesus, that he is real as they come. And no more sooner than when she said that, Jesus showed up. Sure did. He placed his arm around her, and they literally turned and walked off into this bright light. And that was my vision. It was a very powerful thing. And she said, grandson, even before that happened, grandson, whenever you need, all you have to do is pray and speak to me, and I can hear you, and I will talk back. And she has kept that, because it's the only thing that has got me through this time. Being able to speak to my grandmother has been awesome. And she has returned that conversation. There's literally been communication there. Get to know Jesus, man, because he is so good and he does things like this. I'm not the only person it's ever happened to. You can go on YouTube and hear many people giving testimonies like this, but absolutely I saw into the spirit. I saw my grandmother, and she is so healthy and happy. So just let this video encourage you to do the things that you're not doing now. Get started, because we're all walking towards that day that we transition. Just make sure that your days on this earth are the happiest and best of your life. Make them like you are on your last days, last months on this earth. Make them like your doctor told you you have a week to live. Make them like that. Do something that you love to do. Make sure that you're in a career that makes you happy. Make sure you're in a relationship that makes you happy and that produces a better character in you, and someone that's going to push you and love you, and also really just push you to the next level, because we can't always get there by ourselves, like I've said in this conversation. So keep this in mind. It's a very, very touching video, one that I feel good making, and I hope that it pushes you to do better for yourself, because a story is just there for us to take it, consume it, but then to do something with it. Because if we never do something with the story, it's just entertainment. But every single story should produce action, okay? So take the actions that you need to get to where you want to go, and do not be a slave to your life. Peace and love. Coach Jay, out.